Aliveness. It is an experiential phenomenon that occurs when a perceiver becomes conscious that the perceived work of art is presenting, with least ambiguity, its most essential truth, the truth of its form and content, and aesthetic and effect.
Boxes.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
You got it. Long. Incredible. Ease back and stay with them. Ready 12. 12. Ready back to 11. 11. Ready 15. 15. Ready 9. Hold 9. 9. Ready 12. 12. Ready 15. 15. Let's see them get that Oscar now. Right up on him.
In 1997, when we watched this show on television, we felt the truth of the moment, not only because of the winner's words and actions, but also because of the intuitive editing choices made by the invisible director, who screamed instructions to his crew from behind the screen.
Ready 11. 11.
Sarah. And my
Ready, two.
parents who are here, Shirley and Cuba the First.
Ready 3.
And,
3.
With the winner's emotions as the central motive and audience's reactions as the supporting parts, the director orchestrated a spontaneous visual symphony for the screen.
Music. Music.
I just want to, here we go. Okay, the studio, I love you, and
Was it
Cameron
6?
Crowe, and Tom Cruise. I love you, brother. I love you, man.
Ready, ready, 11, 11.
Sean Settles, Keith Butler.
Keep it playing. Ready, 3, 3. Keep it playing. Keep it
I
playing.
love you. You did a great
we go to
job.
6.
We made the movie.
This is 6.
Everybody involved with the movie. I
Ready,
love
12,
you.
12. Ready, 13, 13. Ready, 10, 10. Ready, 2, 2. Ready, 3, 3.
I love you. I love you.
Ready, 12, 12. Ready, 8, 8. Foreman, Foreman and Ali, 9. Foreman and Ali.
I love you.
Ready, 9, 9. Ready, 2, 2. Ready, 3, 3. Ready, 1, 1. Tell me when, Del. Ready, 3, 3. Ready, 6, 6. And stand by announce. And announce. Rolling.
Steve Martin, Sandra Bullock, and a performance by Madonna.
What an opening!
The director created an experience for the television audience, an experience entirely different from what those who were sitting at the venue would have had. Similarly, a musical performance in a concert hall becomes a totally different aesthetic and experiential entity when the performance, captured with multiple moving cameras, is edited into a cinematized concert for screen. With these events, the audience at the venue and those of us who watched at home on screen perceived two entirely different media products that originated from the same source.
Media product refers to the intermediate stage that enables the transfer of cognitive import from one or several producers' minds to one or several perceivers' minds. The media product is material, a physical entity or process with the capacity of triggering mental reactions through semiosis.
Media product is not just what we see on the television, hear on the radio, read in the newspaper, or browse on the internet. Cuba Gooding Jr., the person himself with his words and gestures, is a media product. And this video featuring him is another media product. Printed musical score is a media product. Recording of a performing orchestra is a media product. The director shouting instructions to the technicians is a media product. Each of all the camera feeds that he switches between is a media product.
I suggest that all media products, without exception, can be analyzed in terms of 4 kinds of basic traits. Or in other words, 4 media modalities. The 3 semiotic media modalities are the material modality, the spatio-temporal modality, and the sensorial modality. Media products are all material in the plain sense that they may be, for instance, solid or non-solid, or organic or inorganic, and comparable traits like these belong to the material modality.
In a written musical score, music is realized using paper and ink. In a live concert, music is realized using human bodies and musical instruments. And in a cinematized concert, music is realized using whatever is the material of the recording, the storage, the screen, and the sound devices.
It's also the case that all media products have spatio-temporal traits. which means that such products that do not have at least either spatial or temporal extension are simply inconceivable. Hence, the spatio-temporal modality consists of comparable media traits such as temporality, stasis, two-dimensional spatiality, three-dimensional spatiality, and so on. Furthermore, media products must reach the mind through at least one sense. Hence, sensory perception is the common denominator of the media traits belonging to the sensorial modality. Media products may be visual, auditory, tactile, and so on and so forth.
Lars Elstrom says that when a media product is transferred from one medium to another, it is transformed. For when the characteristics of the source is transferred to the target, there always is some loss or gain.
A child drawing a picture for her father who is sitting at the same kitchen table only has to perform, in principle at least, one primarily bodily act in order to create a media product that is immediately available for the perceiver.
Which in the case of music is musicians performing in front of an audience in a concert hall.
However, if the father is at another place, additional stages of actions and procedures must be supplemented. The drawing may be posted and physically relocated, or scanned and emailed, after which it appears in a slightly transformed way as a media product that is mediated by a computer screen.
Which in the case of music is a cinematized concert playing on a two-dimensional flat screen. When a three-dimensional live concert is transferred to a two-dimensional cinematized concert, it is transformed. And Lars Elstrom says that such a transformation means keeping something, getting rid of something else, and adding something new. In this case, the target keeps the music from the source, and in the visuals, adds cinematic cuts, close-ups, camera movements, and multiple viewing angles, and gets rid of the fixed distance between the perceiver and the performers in a physical concert hall. To add to Lars Elstrom's idea, I suggest that there is a method to this process of transfer and transformation, which I call deconstruction and reconstruction method. A producer deconstructs the source into its core constituent elements, parts, or characteristics, and reconstructs them in such a way that they are communicated using the affordances and limitations of the target medium.
The scores provide the basis for the camera shots. Bar by bar, notes become images. Every shot is planned and tried out during the orchestral rehearsals. Renowned directors ensure that each concert experience is as authentic as possible. In the video studio of the Philharmonie, everything comes together. The director puts the sequences in the correct order and decides the camera shots and the editing. A single cameraman operates the 7 remote-controlled cameras.
For example, the multiple moving cameras in this reconstruction follow the journey of a melody through various sections of the orchestra. The visual holds our hand, guides us through the piece, helps us to hear through the moving bodies of the musicians, each individual part that creates the harmonious whole. One could also reconstruct the deconstructed musical text into a verbal description.
And the opening is very reminiscent of Beethoven's 9th opening, the famous scherzo. And the timpani has a prominent role. In the first few bars, you'll hear the timpani responding to the woodwinds, and later on, the timpani actually plays the melody or the rhythms of the melody.
But in this reconstruction, right at the beginning, the focus is on an instrument the conductor does not even mention in his description. It seems to convey that after the slow melancholic second movement of the symphony, what instantly brings sprightly sparkle and effervescence to the opening of the third movement is the tinkling triangle. And here is another reconstruction, an audio-visual projected on screen augmenting the orchestra, conveying something different, conveying something more than just the music's formal structure. And even if two media products have same pre-semiotic traits, they could construct a deconstructed source entirely differently. For example, in this media product, the producer strictly follows the instrumentation and switches between the shots of the conductor, the strings, the French horn, and the bassoon. Whereas in this reconstruction, the producer chooses to stay with the conductor's gestures. And stays with him until the camera is static at first. Then it slowly zooms into a tight close-up shot of the conductor. Then there is a cut from the tight close-up shot to a wider shot showing the entire orchestra. And thus the visuals reconstruct how music dramatically bursts out from a moment of quiet. With the choice of the shots, the movements of the cameras, and the point and the rhythm of the cuts, the visual could illustrate the music, illuminate its intricacies. To reach a much wider audience, each piece of music could be reconstructed into even a live action feature film. But it's just not feasible, is it?
Yes, I understand. Yes. And that's all.
No, not with a real fire. Strings in unison. Ostinato on A, like this. Next measure's rising. Do you have it?
Yes,
Show
I think
me.
so.
With the abstract made observable through narrative and illustrative reconstructions, that real fire could be lit inside the perceiver's minds. The transformed media product could be charged with the potential for aliveness. And I define aliveness as an experiential phenomenon that occurs when a perceiver becomes conscious that the perceived work of art is presenting with least ambiguity its most essential truth, the truth of its form and content and aesthetic and effect. There are many other audiovisual forms in which music could come alive to its audience.
If you asked a scientist to sit down and design music notation, they'd probably come up with something like this, and which wouldn't be good for performers at all, because one thing that this doesn't have is figuring out which pitch is which. You can't look at that and say, I know that's a middle C.
But it's fun and educational for music listeners, and that's for whom the music animation machine was designed. When virtually any kind of music is played back through the machine, it appears on a television screen as a field of dashes. The longer the note, the longer the dash. The higher the note, the higher the dash. The faster the tempo, the faster it all scrolls by. It all seems so simple. Each color can represent a different instrument. Here, you don't hear the blue notes yet, but you know they're coming. And here they are. The new system will never replace sheet music. Performers still need that. But those of us who like to listen might take note.
Yes, that's active listening, huh?
Yeah, it seems silly, but you start watching it.
Yes,
it's
you do.
Mesmerizing.
Because it matches what you're hearing.
Right.
So,
Over the years, Steven Malinowski has come up with various innovative ways of reconstructing music into animated visuals that his videos have been watched over 182 million times so far. These visualizations make music's internal structure and patterns intelligible, and so its pleasures accessible and enjoyable to a much wider audience. And the evidence of that is in abundance in the thousands of comments the viewers leave on his YouTube videos. And they say, "A brilliant way in, holds my attention, immersive, helped me love this music. You have made a world I felt excluded from accessible, brought the music alive, makes it more alive, more real. I'm new to classical music, your work truly makes it come to life." The idea that there is an inherent visual element to the way we perceive music has already been well established.
Already in the early 20th century, influential Gestalt psychologist Wolfgang Köhler argued that there are certain similarities among experiences through different sense organs. He introduced the famous Maluma and Taquete shapes, illustrating our very strong tendency to perceive similarities between the sound of the nonsense word Maluma and rounded visual shapes, and between the sound of the nonsense word Taquete and angular shapes. Since then, these words and shapes have been used in several variations for innumerable empirical verifications of perceived similarities between auditory and visual forms across different cultures and languages.
And aliveness could occur across all kinds of artistic works. For example, it could occur with a film adaptation of a book, in which a deconstructed book is reconstructed into a feature film.
Miriam Pippin should steal a firework and light it.
Done.
Supposed to stick it in the ground.
It is in the ground.
Outside.
That was your idea.
Even though I knew it wasn't in the book, I just felt that you need the energy at that point. Because this is a party. You want to see some lightness and fun at the front of this movie because it gets very dark. And you're looking for something unexpected. You're introducing two main characters. You're saying something about them. You're also referencing an event that actually does take place in the book, which is that Gandalf has a firework which becomes Smaug, the dragon. So, you want everything that you do to hopefully do 3 or 4 things in terms of turning that piece of prose into a filmic moment.
Martin Barker, who conducted one of the largest film audience research projects on the global reception of the Lord of the Rings films, found brought to life as a recurring theme in the audience's responses. He suggests that liveness should be rethought as aliveness. But I consider them as 2 different experiential phenomena that could be discussed separately. Liveness, as Philip Ostrander says, is about being connected to other people, and aliveness is about being connected to the work of art. And other people, the other perceivers, may or may not be a part of it. So, live or not live, all any art aims for is to come alive to its audience. Aliveness occurs when in a moment you become one with the work of art. Suddenly you see something, everything. You see the truth, you feel the truth, you know the truth. You see how it does what it does. You see its internal structure and patterns, its DNA, the zeros and ones of it. You see it all so very vividly, as these 2 audience members here do.
Great shot, Tashar. That was an homage to how they shot. That was great. Wow.
Oh, that was way too short.